Hi guys, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Charlie and from Charlie on Fitness, and I'm a certified personal trainer and certified nutrition coach, trained through Precision Nutrition. I'm not a dietitian or nutritionist, but I wanted to hop online today and talk a bit about diets, or as I like to refer to them as post-traumatic restriction syndrome. And that may be either through a restriction in calories or and living in a constant calorie deficit, or a restriction of certain food groups to put you in a calorie deficit, however you want to look at it. Anyway, so I wanted to hop online and talk a bit about this today. It's close to home to me as a female, and I often get lots of female clients that have been dieting for years, maybe even throughout their entire life, and come to me with quite severe calorie deficits, well under their resting energy expenditure, even sometimes taking in maybe 500 to 700 calories a day. So I want to talk a bit about what a chronic calorie restriction does to your body and your metabolism, because there's a lot of talk about calories in versus calories out. And although this is an accepted concept, it's very oversimplified and doesn't take into account certain things such as starvation and individualization of how you digest certain foods, because it might be very different than how you might have a friend on the exact same diet as you that's about the same size and shape, and she might have great results and you might not. So everybody's body works a little bit differently. So when we construct a menu plan for people, it's sometimes, well, it's a bit of an educated guess to start, and then there's a lot of fine tuning that goes on back and forth to find what it is that actually works for you. That's why you won't always get the best results on cookie cutter diets that everybody follows. So with respect to calorie restriction and metabolism, I'm going to put it in the context of a freight train. So say the energy that I'm taking in is in the form of coal, and the energy that I'm putting out is the amount of work that the freight train's doing. So if I make that freight train have to go harder and faster, which is what would happen when you start an exercise program, it'd be very obvious that you would need to give that train more coal or more fuel to get that job done. So what happens when we're in a constant calorie deficit and we don't give that train any extra coal, and in fact we give it not enough coal to even get through the day without even increasing its workload, and that train knows no matter what it does, it's not going to get any extra coal. So, well, you can guess it's certainly not going to burn up all its coal right away, right? Like, it's going to actually hold on to the coal that it has and try to retain it in its engine so that it can conserve that energy and not deplete itself. And that is exactly what is happening in your body when you're in a constant calorie deficit. So you're not, the body is clinging on to what little fuel it has because it knows it's not going to get any more, and it doesn't let it go readily. It won't burn it readily, and it won't burn it readily at rest. So that's why you'll see people that exercise more and more and more, and yet they're not getting anywhere with their physique changes. And in fact, they even have a bit of a study that occurred with it with marathon runners, that the whole concept of, because marathon runners obviously expend a ton of calories, but some of them even gain weight when they're training for a marathon, and a lot of that can be due to the concept of, well, I just burned like 3,000 calories, so I can eat whatever I want. And they've developed a saying about that you just can't outrun your fork, so to speak. So it's not always so cut and dry as calories in versus calories out. There are a lot of other factors that come into play, and I just wanted to talk a bit about that. The other thing that I want to talk about with respect to diets is the mindset mentality that chronic dieting gives us. So it's this whole cycle of, now I cheated on my diet, and there's this mentality that that is just so self-destructive. You're instantly, scolding yourself for not doing it. You're not good enough to do it. You don't know how to do it. And it just becomes this whole cycle of beating yourself up. And then you throw in the towel because you're feeling defeated, and eat some more, and some more stuff that's not necessarily in your best interest. And away you go, cycling over and over again. So I want to propose that that you look at things in a different light. So for sure, there needs to be a look at what it is that you're ingesting and how does it best serve you. And just because I say that calorie restriction is not so cut and dry, that's not like an invitation to go then decide you can eat whatever you want whenever you want it, because it doesn't work that way either. So it's about finding the foods that that work best for your body, and sometimes that may be the lack of a certain macronutrient, with some people that have had success with keto, for example, but sometimes not. Like if a diet is not sustainable for you and you can't see yourself going without carbohydrates for the rest of your life, then keto is not the right fit for you. So it's all about what's going to be sustainable for life, and about what types of food that you eat. So if I'm eating a bunch of nutrient-dense food and it's fueling my body perfectly, and I have more energy and my performance is up, and I'm meeting my physique goals with it, then that's the right diet for me. If I'm eating a bunch of energy-dense food that's high in calories, you're probably not going to have a good success rate. So, because those calories burn off quite quickly and leave us feeling, empty and starved and wanting more, especially when it's processed food. There's all kinds of chemicals in there to make you crave that food more, and that becomes another whole cycle. So this is about changing, for life. When a lot of people think too, if I just do this diet and get to my certain set, weight that I picture in my mind, then I can go back to eating whatever I want. No, it doesn't work like that. This is going to have to be a change for your entire life. Now here comes another problem, in that we can look at this in one of two ways. We can look at it in there are people that say to me, I just can't live without, I can't live without ice cream. Let's say that. No matter what, I can't live without it. So I'm going to have that. I would say, well, that's really debatable. And I think if you brought that up in a court of law, you're probably not going to prove your case that you can't live without ice cream. If there's no ice cream ever again on the planet, you're quite likely going to survive. So instead of saying, I can't live without something, I would like to propose that you change that to, I want to live without something. I want to because it makes my body feel better, and And yeah, and I feel better without it, and it makes me healthier. Therefore, I don't want it in my body. So, because when you say I can't have something and I want it, then you desire it. Rather than saying I could have that, but I don't want it because it goes against my goals and what I want to achieve, and it makes me feel crappy. So therefore, I don't want it. So now all of a sudden, you're empowering yourself. So if that ice cream is out on the table, you're not looking at it going, "Oh, I wish I could have that." And then all of a sudden you find you're falling apart and having it. Instead of you're looking at it saying, I don't really need that. Like, I feel better without it. And you're going to find most of the time that you're going to be able to walk away from that. What happens when you don't? Well, guess what? You're going to fail. Like, there's just no way around it. You're going to fail, and you're going to fail more than once, and you're going to fail again and again. And that's just part of the process of learning a new skill set. So, if you woke up one day and decided you wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or a critical care nurse, you're not going to go out and be that tomorrow. You're going to have to go to school. You're going to have to learn certain skills. You're going to have to practice them. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have failures, but eventually you're going to meet that goal. And that's going to happen the same thing with changing your nutrition. You're not going to just, like you didn't just wake up one day eating healthy and all of a sudden said, I think I'm going to live off donuts. And the next day you're 300 pounds, right? Like, you learned all of those behaviors throughout your lifetime. And you're now not going to just say, well, I want to lose weight. It's as simple as that. And then be upset that you're not losing it in a week, right? Like, it is going to take time to learn that skill set and put that to work for you and learn those tools. And it's going to be a process of failing and restarting. But just know that you can get there. And instead of beating yourself up for every failure, look at it as part of the process and have some compassion with yourself. Be a little bit forgiving and say, that's okay. I made a mistake. What am I going to learn from it? And how am I going to move forward so that I can work through that and navigate through that differently the next time that I come across that same scenario, right? I think we just need to be a little more forgiving with ourselves and look at this as an experimental kind of project that you're gonna work on and try to master for the rest of your life instead of looking for a quick fix. Anyway, I hope that clears up some of the confusion and helps with any confusion around it. I don't know, maybe I even give you a little bit more, but I wanted to give you some food for thought, pun intended. And if you have any questions, just feel free to comment below and I'll try to get back to them. Thanks.